Benjies, welcome to the BingeWorthy podcast, part of the Geekish Network. My name is Johnny Randolph, or you can just call me Randy. And with me today, I've got four exceptional co-hosts. My first co-host is the lovely Miss Courtney Scott, right? Courtney, say what's up to the people, ma'am.
Hello, hello.
And my next co-host is the Newt from the Ville, Regard. Say what's up to the people, man.
Hello, Governor.
I love it when he says that. And my next co-host, Chuck, man, let the people know who you are.
What it do, people? I'm back. Waiting for my Lego set.
Lord, he's talking about the Lego set. And speaking of being back, we got a guy, making a return appearance, one of the founders of the BingeWorthy podcast. Centel, man, let the people know who you are.
Oh, Mr. Centel, home now. We home now.
Oh, wow.
That's that new live action one.
He missed it. I love it.
Yeah,
Welcome back.
That's a new color.
Welcome back, bro.
Yeah, what's good, man? What is good? Oh, love these smiling faces up here.
And we are the BingeWorthy podcast. And the premise of our show is that we will binge watch a television series to let you know if you should. And if you are in the chat, one of the great things about our show is that you can interact with us and we will respond to any questions or comments that you make. Now, at the beginning of our show, we rate the initial series. Today, we reviewed Ted Lasso. So I'm talking to my technical director, Rodney. How did everybody rate Ted Lasso season 3? Okay. Oh, so we got, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 binge outs. And then we got a full meal. All right. So that's
No, that's a mini meal.
Mini meal.
Oh, a mini meal. I guess I had a Freudian slip there. So what's up? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 20 plus 3. 5, 4. All right. So that gives us full binge out if we round it on up. All right, so we're gonna talk about this series. This is season 3 of Ted Lasso, and the premise is the AFC Richmond eyes an ambitious goal of winning the Premier League this season, and everyone is trying to shake Ted out of his winning isn't for everybody. This sends Ted burrowing into himself, searching for a confirmation of whether he can lead the team to victory. All right. So Courtney, BingeWorthy, in the prior 2 seasons, we all gave it a full binge out. On yours, you gave it a mini meal for this season. Why did you give it a mini meal? Do you think that this season added up to the quality of the previous seasons?
For me, I thought that the writing, the arcs weren't clear enough for me. Like, it was a little muddy. Like, I thought that the first half of the season was really solid, like the first few episodes. And then the middle episodes, though I understand what the journey was and what their plan was, for me, it didn't really carry that. I just didn't think it was earned. Though I understood for Ted, I thought that he got the ending and the journey that we can expect from that character. I think for me, it was the bulk of the rest of the characters that, yeah.
Didn't measure up for you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Centel, brother, you are an actor. How did you think the quality of the performances for this season, for this cast for Ted Lasso season 3?
Here's the thing. This season did have some issues for me, but acting wasn't one of them. I thought the actors definitely showed up. There's some things I'm really looking forward to getting a bit of this deep dive to, especially hear what Court has to say, because I was very hesitant of giving it a full binge out. This one didn't land in the same way, but it certainly was not because of the acting. I think the chemistry was over the top. If anything, is probably the relationships that were being expressed felt a little bit more full and even more complete. In this episode, it's just plot stuff that was a little tricky for me. Definitely not the acting.
Okay. All right. So let's jump into Recry. Ted Lasso, it's a combination of comedy and romance and sentiment. How did you think the writers did trying to weave all of these different elements together?
Well, I think this, and it's hard, because really we want to focus on only season 3. But really, if you take the series as a whole, it's a credit to the writers' room. And why there were some lags in right around the middle, I would say, of this season, to me, that wasn't an issue. And then you have to look at the writers. Like Jason Sudeikis is a solid writer. He wrote for SNL. Brett Goldstein, who played Roy Kent, was one of the writers for the show. And actually, he had an informal audition. He'd never auditioned formally to be on the show. It was kind of a informal audition for him to be Roy Kent. And then the other creator of this actual show, because since this all started out as a SNL, like a skit or a TV ad, the other creator of the show, the concept of the show, was the writer for Scrubs. So, you talk about solid people, and Scrubs was able to pull off some solid comedy. So, it's a credit to the writer's room. And it's actually surprising on how much heart this had. And and really the season, by the time it wrapped up, I was like, who in the hell is in her cutting onions and shit? Because I was like, man, who wrote this shit? Like, this is brilliant. So I think it was the writer's room, because you can't knock it out of the park every time. You know what I'm saying? Some of them got to be, some of you got to bunt, and hopefully the one thing that's a real credit to this season started strong and it ended super strong. The last 2 episodes were the highest rated episodes in the entire series.
Okay. Well, speaking of starting strong, Chuck, what'd you think about the pilot episode for season 3 or the first episode of season 3? How do you think that episode did in establishing the tone and what this season was going to be?
I it was established the tone. Okay, it set up Ted to who Ted was. I thought they was gonna pit him against Nate the whole entire time, and Nate was never going to come back. Like it was never like Nate was the Sith Lord, or Nate was the Darth, and what's his name was the Sith Lord. But it was really interesting how Ted handled it.
We're gonna talk about that, but
and how he handled it, and how everybody was like, "No, we need you to get after him," and it just wasn't him. That's just not who he is. And but I thought it set the tone really well. I thought it kicked off the season right where I wanted to kick off the season, and them getting together and them being relegated again. Like they're about to get relegated again. They don't got it in them.
Okay. Courtney, did you think the first episode started off a little darker than what normal Ted Lasso episodes are?
Yes, but I thought given the where it ended, I thought it was on par. I really enjoyed, like I said, I enjoyed the beginning few episodes because I thought it was all connected. Do you know what I mean? Like from the recap of last season and where they were all going to in this season. I absolutely enjoyed where we were going. I was just really confused. Now, I wasn't on that train where I know there was a lot of comments throughout this season, like, where has Ted Lasso gone? This isn't the show. It's not that. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't on that train. I was on the train willing and ready to support like whatever the journey was. For me, I wanted the journey. I feel like there were gaps. And yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about some of these characters, and I'm gonna transition over to you, Centel, real quick. Keely, she has had an enormous arc from where she is today to where she was when we first met her in season 1. How do you think her role has changed over the years, and how that's added to the overall narrative of Ted Lasso?
Yeah, she's had extraordinary growth. She went from somebody that felt like a thought to being the CEO of her own company, and a lot of stuff happened in between that, including not just emotional growth, but relationship growth, and how she manages being the boss of her own company. This one was interesting because there's that old principle. The old head say you don't shit where you eat, and she did exactly that with the people that was funding her company, and then caught repercussions from that. I thought it was interesting to see it, take it from this standpoint of a powerful woman doing this to another woman in power. Because so many times the narrative is the other way. So I just thought that was a cool way to kind of get that perspective that this particular thing was an issue of power, and it wasn't a gender thing; it was a power thing. And she made not necessarily the smartest choices to help her and her business. The love triangle was fun this season. It ended in a way that probably left a lot of people unsatisfied. Because there wasn't a choice that was kind of like made. So Keely kind of like, I guess she was like, I am my own choice. So I'm kind of like worried about me. The way that she bounces stuff off of with Rebecca, this show is filled with bromances, but you cannot discount the bonding between these women that are on this show. And it was just fun to see her bounce stuff off of Rebecca. But she shines most when she's trying to juggle both Roy and Jamie. So up until the end, I was all on board with it. She's great. you know.
Yo, Chuck, man, how did you like Keely's role? Because this is her first year of stepping out on her own and being a boss. As Centel pointed out earlier, in season 1, she was kind of, like thotty. And I don't want to be disrespectful, but now she's
she just started off as somebody's girlfriend and then like became PR. I don't necessarily see her in that light that you guys see her in. I don't think she was ever that, but that's just my opinion.
When she went from model to girlfriend to football player's girlfriend,
Yeah,
to doing PR, and she was good at it. And she's always been one of those people to do on her own. Her own top. Listen to her in season 1. She thought about being modeling, being her own person. So she always handled her business. Now she handles it in a different type of business. So I thought it was impressive to see who Keely was and how she behaves with everybody, and the optimism she always had. Like Keely never lost optimism, even when she hired her friend, who was definitely not the one to hire.
That was a really good choice. I thought that they picked for that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Can I say
it's fine. So I thought she's optimistic for everybody. She's kind of like Ted. Like, the best is going to happen. It's always worked in my favor. So I'm always going to do my best and try my best and not regret any of the decisions I make. I made those decisions. I live with them.
I think that was interesting how this season 2, they also showed how she folded a little bit too. Like, she started to doubt herself when the video leaked. And and then when Jack did all that stuff to her and pulled the funding for a company, and it really knocked her for a loop. And I thought that she rebounded really nicely. And I thought that was nice how they kind of made that as a bounce off of that weird ass mean chick that was in her office. It's kind of the one who kind of
Barbara.
Barbara kind of gave her the fortitude to say, fuck it, step out there on her own, after she finally talked to Rebecca too. So that was nice to see that, because we saw Ted go through that over the seasons, his panic attacks and things like that, when he was overly self-conscious and things like that, and his anxiety kicked up. And it was nice, this whole tribute to actual mental health professionals. And even though Keely wasn't suffering from that she took a blow, and her confidence was able to bounce back from that. So that was nice to see.
I liked the way that they added Shandy. I thought bringing her in was really smart, because we got a chance to see a very good comparison contrast, because Shandy and Keely, we see the growth of Keely now, but make no mistake, Shandy and Keely were birds of a feather. They traveled the same circles, they did the same thing, they engaged in the same culture. But when you get a chance to see Keely's growth of where she is, and then you bring Shandy in, who was where she started, and you can see how drastically changed she had become, and not to say that, that because you started from, chasing footballers, and being a party girl, because let's not make a mistake. That's what she was. You can still find success, and they even emphasize that even more so when you look at the magazine section in the season finale, and you can read one of the magazines and you see that even Shandy finds success. So it doesn't matter where you start, you can always grow and become a better version of yourself given enough time and opportunity.
But I think part of that is your locus of control. Like, I think the reason for the difference and why we saw a stark difference between Keely and Shandy is that they were both models, they were both social influencers, but the difference was in Keely's proximity to Rebecca. She started to expand her mind and expand her ambition and expand her thought. And anytime you are within proximity to hyper successful people, unless you're just dead inside, it pushes you and it expands you. And Shandy didn't have that. And then, like you said, by the end of the season, Shandy had changed, even because of her time around Keely and Rebecca.
Courtney, you're about to say something, man?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the one thing that I thought about Keely's journey, like from season 1, it was like her confidence, and then the development was like a butterfly, because she realized her experience in the industry was something that she could utilize and help others like grow. And that's how she discovered her PR, right? So, and the same with season 2, then she like, it really blew up and it became like her being the woman in behind the magazine cover, like for her business sense, for her brain, not just her beauty. And then this season, I felt like it started that way, like, finding out that they broke up, like she broke up with Roy, not knowing why they broke up, but then she moved on and found this new relationship within the midst of her company. And then I felt like her story, her arc just kind of fell flat when it just went back to like her being the girl in between Jamie and Roy, because Jamie and Roy found their own relationship with each other. And so to put them back in that same place where they started, I thought was disrespectful, not only to Keely, it was disrespectful to the relationship that these two men who had been adversaries from the very beginning found community and union in that scene when Jamie's father came into the scene, into the locker room, and to see Roy grow and change and want to like make Jamie the best he could be, better than Zava. You know what I mean? Like, I just felt like it was a disservice to then drop them back in this place of like, okay, they're really just the same men at heart and they just want her to choose.
I agree with that one.
But I thought that was the genius of that, because at the end, Keely wasn't dropped back into that. Keely chose herself, not them two. Them two men didn't
Right.
on. Them two men were still the Neanderthals.
But
even
that's
to
my point.
Roy
You're
says
just making my point. Like, it's not necessarily Keely. It just became about the two of them fixating on her, as opposed to her journey, like continuing on. Like, what did she and Barbara do? We saw glimpses of her in relationship to Roy. Roy needed help with this. We saw her. Jamie needed, he needed to go and figure out what was going on with him. So they journeyed on to go and help Jamie. Like, it really just became like, what are we doing with Keely at the end? It wasn't until we saw her and Rebecca potentially doing something together with a women's football team that we even got a sense of like what's happening with Keely. And it was like 3 episodes. But the fact that Jamie and Roy had this great big like explosion of seeing that they could be great friends, and then they just dropped back. It was just boring. It was just really boring.
They were still friends after.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it was
like
cliche.
I knew tons of guys that fought over girls and they still be best friends right after they fight over her.
Well, it felt like they were rehashing the same old thing. It's like we've already seen that story. Right?
They both kind of did her wrong. They both did her wrong, and they both were still in love with her. And we know that. We know they both longed for it. Through all three seasons, we know that. And so it's interesting to see that they were like, hey, we're going to fight over it. Then they try to put it on her to choose. And she's like, I'm not choosing either one of you. I'm done with y'all.
And she told him that. And they didn't even get the joke. She was like, oh, you're going to let me choose? How nice of you. And then the next scene we see of them is her kicking him out of her place.
Yeah, like her but it was the same. Like Roy did the same thing with like, who did you make the videotape for? And it's like, what? I mean, I understand the question. I understand he's in love. I understand he was in pain. I understood. I'm just saying, like, it was, I don't know.
He didn't deserve an answer.
But I think
he didn't.
Particular moments weren't about Keely at all. That was about those two men. Because even at the end of the day, when they came together and Roy is training Jamie, it's still at the end they became two cavemen, and they're fighting over the first woman, and I'll hit you over the head with a club or whatever. And it wasn't about that at all. They couldn't see past themselves.
Yeah,
that was part of their character growth, not hers.
And Roy called it out. And when he asked for the Diamond Dogs to gather up, and he had the question, can we change?
Yeah, and he thought he couldn't change. He thought he was still the same damn idiot.
So let's talk about Jamie though. So we are talking about him. Chuck, Jamie's changed a lot. What'd you think about his arc for this season as we've seen him in previous years?
I liked him in this season. I like that he went from top player to then he got overshadowed by a real superstar and didn't know how to handle it. And then when that superstar left, he came top player again, but he didn't have the same heart in it. Like he was like, why y'all talking about me? It's my team. It's not even me. I don't know if I'm supposed to be here or not. It was like he went into his own rut. And he got caught in his own mind, and a lot had to do with his family, right?
He's
Like
still struggling with that. Yeah, his relationship with his father, and we got to see his mother this time. That was
That
interesting.
shit.
that was interesting because Roy looked at his mother like, yeah,
I did too. I was like, "Is that his mom?" And they were super close. That's all I'm gonna say. They were super.
she had him when she was young. Remember, he said that in season 1. His mother
Okay,
had,
I didn't remember. Yeah, because
Yeah.
he was kind of just. I'm like,
yeah, she probably had him when she was like 13, 14.
Breastfeed him now? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
that's how I was like. It's
And
like
Roy
he
was
was
like, I
trying to
wanna
go
be big.
left. I was like,
no. When they went into his bedroom, he saw Keely and Roy on his wall as a child. Let you know how young he is from them. Like they were adults. She was a model. Roy was the man in soccer, and he had both of them on his wall. So he actually looked up to both of them.
She has him by 7 years because she said
Yep.
something in season 1 regarding, I'm 30 and I'm still dating him at 23.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
She said I was dating at 19. I was dating a 23-year-old, and I'm 30 and I'm dating a 23 or something like that. Yeah, yeah, to play into her overall. So
Yep. I thought it was interesting that how he grew, and when he went to Roy and asked for help, and Roy's like, "I'm going to make you better than Zava."
it felt there's a lot of parallels to Star Wars in this season. And one of the ones on this one is, it's the relationship with Obi-Wan and Vader. Oh my gosh.
Anakin?
Excuse me. Yeah. And just that, how do you teach a young talented person to become the best Jedi? How do you teach this young talented person to become the best football player? And them building a brotherhood, but yet still, like, you still got to listen to me. You're still the Padawan in this kind of situation, but yet they're still kind of like brothers in it. So,
okay. So speaking of that kind of bromance, Courtney, what'd you think about the bromance between Roy Kenny and Jamie? Did it add value this season to you?
100%, because I think that's what, even from season 1, you could see that there were so many, even when Roy talked about when his ankle was all hurt, I think it was season 1, when he talked about how he saw himself in Jamie, and that's why they clashed so much, was because he was the same brazen, just kind of rude young star player, and it turned him off to see it reflected in somebody else. So it made sense to me that these two would be powerful brothers if they ever came together. You know what I mean? If our forces combined, they'd just be magic, and that's exactly what it was. They've always been, it was fun watching them fight. So to see them, like him teaching Roy how to ride a bike, you know what I mean? Like that whole bit, and just him training Jamie, and Jamie just going along with everything he said. Like, you said I couldn't have a beer. Oh, I can have a beer now. You know what I mean? Like he was so committed and devoted to this, like, to growing, but also just the proximity to Roy, because it was what he grew up with. That was the poster that was on his wall, like you guys talked about. So I just think that was a beautiful connection that we needed. And I think for me, like, seeing them still kind of, although I understand, like, you don't completely change, like just harboring certain glimpses of who they used to be, and yet knowing that they're still going to continue on that way is kind of fun.
I
Yeah.
think
I love that
it's
scene.
kinda-
Go
yeah, I
ahead.
think it was kind of interesting that Jamie's proximity to Roy all this time, somebody that he revered and had a poster on his wall, didn't really push him to greatness. It was for that brief time that Zava came in and it pissed Jamie off. Like, remember, Jamie was the only one who went to Ted and them and said, "We don't need Zava." He was the only one who did not want Zava to come to begin with. But, he didn't know that was exactly what he needed.
Also, Jamie didn't have Trent. Like, you understand, Roy was 17 years old, and Trent said he's not going to amount to anything.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a
Roy,
good story plot.
that's
Yeah.
why
That
Roy,
was a really good story plot.
that's why Roy was like, nobody fucking talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned to Trent and said, I was 17 years old, and you just berated me for being and trying to apologize. Like I was young too, trying to be the edgy journalist.
And I just love Trent, the actor who plays him, because like
He's so great.
Roy, he's always just like this, like his whole body. He really embraces that whole role, just the way he walks and the way he moves, and it's like slow and deliberate instead of intense. It's like everybody just gets it, and his chest is always stuck out, and it's just funny to me. I think he really embodies that character.
Hold on, you know the funniest thing about Roy?
What's that?
Whistle. Whistle.
Plastic whistle. Nah, good.
I loved it. The scene when Roy's niece has his celebration, and then Jamie comes through the door, and she was like, Roy's like, "Why did you invite him?" And she's like, "Because he's your best friend." They both look. But then he's like, you talk to him all the time. You're always with him. You all are all. And then they're both like, yeah, he's my best friend. And then Jamie gives the best gift. The best gift. And then his niece, she's like, tells Jamie, you owe me £1. Like, why do I owe you £1? Because I cursed. Like, I didn't hear you. She's like, but I thought it when you gave him that gift because nobody's ever had that relationship. And Jamie's like, yeah, you're right. Right.
And they switched his last name, so it said cunt in the back of it instead of yeah,
man.
It was a perfect gift, but it still had a cool little a personal slight that they both got. It was good.
Yeah. What made it really good was her gift to Roy. That tie-dye shirt, that red, orange, yellow. She says red, orange, yellow. It spells Roy. And I was like, that's the sweetest thing ever. And
but when he wore it, everybody's response to when he wore it, they was like, is he okay? Like, what the hell?
But again, his demeanor, it's just quiet, and he just looks at people. And they
like, what y'all looking at?
Well, it was from what I took from it regarding the shirt, because it's bright. You can't miss it. It's tie-dye. It looks like a sun. It's radiating. It's like his soul, right? It's who he is at his core, and his niece is forcing him to bring that out. That's what the shirt kind of like represents. And they do some really cool things with it because he's walking around, he's expressing his heart, his spirit, who he is at his core to all of these people, and everybody's having this visceral kind of reaction to it. But the brilliant thing and how they stuck the landing with that is that at the very end, he comes in and it's still a tie-dye shirt. It still resembles the same spirit, the same soul that he has before, but it's in purple. It's in his darker tones. So he's still wearing his soul, wearing his heart on his sleeve, but he's matched it to match his personality a lot more. So I was like, oh, the shirt, that worked. I was like, well done.
Then he takes it off and leaves it, and I thought that he was going to go. I was like, he's just going to leave it behind.
Oh, the one that his niece made when he dropped it.
Yeah, then he reverses back, picks it back up, and it's like, oh, okay.
Because kids are going to ask about it. You still got the shirt?
So,
Courtney, go ahead, Jack.
Character. His niece is great in this.
Yeah, and I'm glad they actually acknowledged that was his sister that was in the hospital that treated Dr. Sharon when she had her bike injury, because we all knew it was Roy's sister. I just, it was cool to see it actually like play out in just this way to her to show up at the birthday party.
And how Jamie reacted to that is like, that's your sister?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't you look at my sister. It reminded me of the Winter Soldier, was the one with Anthony Mackie and whatchamacallit, when he was calling it her sister. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, they should hook up.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that.
So, Courtney, for this season, Ted's dealing with a lot. He's dealing with his son. He's dealing with the team, his past trauma. How do you think his character in this season handled all of the things that were going on in his life?
Let's see. I think he handled them in true Ted fashion. Like, he has his moments of like confusion and panic, like when Michelle came with her boyfriend, and just how he felt about that, them taking a trip of this magnitude together, and then they're going to France together, and I think that was when we saw his, glimpses of his clarity. And then the episode with his mother, and they really got to finally have closure and discuss the the suicide, his father's suicide. I thought that he showed tremendous growth from where he was last season with Dr. Sharon, and he was just having his panic attacks because he had learned to like keep everything inside. And it really showed that in this season, he unlearned that and was trying to talk to people and encouraging other people to talk to each other. And I think that's why it didn't bother me so much, Ted's reaction to Nate, you know what I mean? Because it was classic Ted, which is why I thought I was a little bothered by the whole when Zava came, because he was very un-Ted-like. It was like he felt like he had nothing to give to Zava. And I understand Zava was like a son. He couldn't absorb anything anyway. But it would have been cool to see Ted just offer some little tidbits, even if Zava didn't realize or pick him up. It was just Zava, you know what I mean? And everybody else just work around Zava. So it was very un-Ted-like. But that was the only part that I thought was off.
I think that it was off. And that's only because we've went on this journey. Everybody on this team has went on a journey with Ted. Zava comes in. He's not bought into the team. Zava is Zava. He don't give a shit about any of that, And I think it's kind of like the whole time, and the beauty of Ted was that, from episode 1, he was a fish out of water. He was an American football coach trying to coach soccer. Because initially, Rebecca wanted to tank the team, and then she's like, no, okay, I think we can win. There's something here. But with Zava coming in, it's just like, you get a coach, he's a rookie coach, and you get, even at an elderly age, on the Wizards, you get Michael Jordan. The hell you gonna tell Michael Jordan? Oh shit, you got this. I'll try to coach the rest of these guys, and you go out there, you do what you do. You're a superstar. You that guy, and shit. Everybody they listen to Zava, and Zava makes some old weird ass philosophical shit, and life is like avocados or some shit. He would just say some old wild shit and then meditate or something. But he went on the field and produced. He produced, and that's why they fell apart. They were shit before that. He came in, made them something, and then they fell apart when he left. And I thought that was really where Ted Lasso, the beauty of Ted Lasso, really picked up, and he found his strength. That weird ass Amsterdam episode where he had, a damn high ass epiphany, which is funny that he had an epiphany on something that already existed. That is fucking gorgeous.
And I don't think they would have made it as far if Zaza would have stayed with them. I think they needed Ted to rally the team together to keep them pushing forward.
Well, they needed to learn to trust each other because that was the thing that they never did. Like first they trusted Jamie and was all trusting, or first they trusted Roy, then it was trusting, okay, now we're going to trust Jamie's back, so we're going to try trusting Jamie. And now it's like they just worked together as a team.
Not look for a savior. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Karen. Sorry about that.
Oh, no. No, I think that was all I was gonna say. I was gonna move on to another character.
So
go ahead.
Gotta bring it up since y'all brought it up. The Nate thing. We got to talk through this. So I'm gonna start with Chuck first, man. Were you okay with like them accepting Nate back in the way that it was done?
I was okay with Ted accepting Nate back the way it was done. The team accepting without a Ted speech felt kind of weird to me. I feel like Ted would have to give a speech to bring Nate back. Nate ripped the sign. And for him to walk up in there, even after he cleaned up the locker room and set the towels out for Will for the first day and nobody knew, that makes sense. I think how Beard handled it was right. We had a conversation earlier. I was like, Ted was like, look, this guy's hung out all day and all night trying to fix the sign when he didn't have to. He hid and didn't want to be seen. And Beard went to go talk to him. And they didn't have that scene where Beard talked to the team and said, we're bringing Nate back in here. So I thought how they handled Nate was great, where they made him pay $5,000 to throw the party. Because
Nate didn't put the sign back together. He hid so no one would see that he was the one who ripped it.
yeah, but
That's why he hid.
I thought he wanted to put the sign back together and he couldn't do it because they kept coming in the room. That's all.
That's your, and because no, I thought that he
ripped
I thought
it.
he stayed. No, he stood in. He tried to leave after he ripped it, and then got caught. Like he didn't want anybody to see he was there. So then he like stayed for those hours and then left. I did not get that he was trying to put it back together.
I think he had a gate where he could have left and he didn't go.
Because didn't they say earlier, yo, that he stood on something trying to put it back together?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they said something like that, but I don't remember. But Centel, man, was that enough for you?
Here's the thing with Nate. I wish they had focused more on the apology with him and Ted, because we spent so much time on his redemption tour. And for me, the only person I really cared about him apologizing to, I'm being honest, the priority was Ted. And then when they did happen, it was just like, I'm sorry, he dropped a couple of tears, and then, they kind of like kept it moving. I was like, dang, that was like, we went through like 6 episodes of him building everything back up, and it was just really, really quick. I didn't understand why the team forgave him. I understand why the kit manager forgave him, because that gesture was pretty cool. I totally understand the interaction with Beard. I didn't understand why the team was like, okay, let's take him back. It just felt like that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. They didn't have a scene saying, Ted, like, we're bringing Nate back, and this is why.
Right. We spent
because
this,
I.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, because as angry as they were when they found out the sign had been ripped, even though Ted made a big show saying like it's okay, it's just a sign, and he ripped it in pieces and threw it away, I understood that, but I agree that the team, it wasn't earned, and I thought that there were holes that two in particular that I needed for closure. One was Nate's apology. It was, though emotional, it was just, I'm sorry. I needed him to acknowledge that he gave out Ted's mental health private medical records when he told about the panic attacks. That was a huge problem. I needed someone to address that. Mm-hmm. And I think for the second thing, for the redemption tour to really conclude, was I needed to know what happened between him and Rupert. Okay, I needed to know what Rupert did. What I was
about to say was that I was like, they just left us really hanging with Rupert.
They just left a hole, and then you went on this destroy Rupert kick with his usual like sleeping around with women, and Nate knew Rupert was sleeping with that woman for weeks. So all of a sudden he just up and quit. Like I needed more.
He up and quit because of Jade. Like Rupert wanted him to be like him. And he's
right.
Like, and Nate wasn't with that. Nate got a girlfriend for the first time, a girl he's been trying to impress since season 1.
I think it's more than that. I mean, I understand that he didn't want to hook up with the chick, but that's not enough to like, I'm gonna quit.
I need 5 minutes. Go ahead, Rakai.
I think in those moments, so a couple things, like the thing with him and Rupert, I think it was when Rupert kept his shit to himself, like, and he didn't even mind when Rupert did that early in the season when he introduced him to the little model chick or whatever. But Nate was trying to be Mr. Big Shot and impress Jade, but and now he's with model chicks at his little spot, and I'm the coach of West Ham. But when Rupert tried to turn him into him and be like, I don't give a shit about, your little girlfriend or whatever, you're going to do this or whatever because you work for me. You're going to do, what I do. I think in that moment, he saw the real difference between, AFC Richmond and West Ham. And just like, I got beside myself and, Ted Lasso had enough, integrity to show up to my game with his son, because his son still, has got, it's cool with me or whatever. And, he didn't show any animosity towards it. He just didn't, like the players went out there and beat the shit out of the West Ham players. That turned into a WWE match.
See, you're writing a scene that wasn't in the show.
What do you mean?
You wrote a scene to make yourself understand what happened. And none of that, I mean, all his personal internal monologues that you created the lines for, that just wasn't in the script. And everything you just said, I needed to be somewhere in the episode.
No, I just think that, you know what I'm saying, I think the beauty of some of this is that they let things go and let you come to your own conclusions. And they don't say, you know, and it's just kind of like at the end where Keely doesn't choose Roy or whatever. We don't know what she actually said to them. We wrote the script where she chose herself and all that shit. We don't know what the hell she said to them. All we know is they left out the door, they closed the door and went to got something to eat. We don't know what happens after that. Maybe she does get back with Roy. Maybe she gets with Jamie. We don't know. And I think that was the beauty of it. You know, all we know is Nate quit for whatever was going on with Rupert. But I think the fact that he didn't want to cheat on Jade, and you know, he was secure in that, and then he realized that he fucked up, just like, you know, when we saw in the video of him trying to put the sign back up after he ripped it, and then he realized he fucked up. He's trying to put the sign back up, and then he had to stay there for 5 hours, you know, because he couldn't escape. And then all of that led to everything else that kind of played out during that season where he eventually quit and like, this is not the place I want to be.
I think also he realized he didn't fit in. And he tried to make his own version of the dogs, the Diamond Dogs.
Oh, that was a colossal failure when he tried to make the version of the what they called the dog
Diamond Dogs.
Diamond Dogs. That was a colossal failure, and he knew that.
Yeah,
It wasn't enough for me, guys. It just was not enough. I still don't forgive Nate. I feel like I need 5 minutes with dude. Just the way he did it, the way he quit. And I'm like, until we get these 5 minutes, you can't come back to the team. And the reason is like, especially like if I'm Beard, and I know Beard, you know, like, you know, he
That was a great scene.
He understood forgiveness, but I feel like, so it's like if somebody does something to your brother might forgive them quicker than you will because you did something to my goddamn brother. And I feel like, you know, unless we have this out, a simple apology and just moving on, we just can't do that.
But again, that was the beauty of Ted Lasso from Jump, that he didn't let what Nate did live rent free in his head. He just
agreed. I totally 100% agree with you in terms of that relationship to Ted. What would have saved it for me, because, and please, if I'm remembering this wrong, let me know. In the final montage, it was Roy who was sitting in the chair with Dr. Sharon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. If that had been Nate at any point in time during the season, if he had a session with Dr. Sharon, we didn't even know what happened in the session. Just her closing the door would have been enough for me to acknowledge that Nate did continue his growth and his work with some therapeutic help.
Well, I think he got that. I think he got that because there's a really good scene with him and his father, because the root of Nate's issues is his father. He has daddy issues, and he has issues trying to stand up in front of powerful men. He shrinks. He's always shrunk. That's what we saw in the first season. But there was a disconnect of putting that lesson of him being able to be a man in front of his father, and then having his father also ask for forgiveness for not knowing how to be a father to a brilliant mind. I thought that was really well thought out. I was like, wow, that's pretty dope. But they failed to connect us, the viewers, with where those lessons was learned and then associated with the old company that he used to run with the Greyhounds. So I think they had it on paper. It just didn't stick the landing.
It wasn't executed.
Yeah, I don't think he did either. Because he got off kind of easy, right? He got off real easy.
But I mean, that part didn't surprise me because it's Ted Lasso. It didn't surprise me. He always was going to take Nate back. Always. From the moment Ned, right. But everything that everybody else has learned from Ted, they were always going to take him back too. They were. I mean, even Sam, who I think his storyline was dropped. Like, he did not have a complete arc. He didn't. I mean, he started off well with his restaurant and his journey wanting to join the Nigerian team. It came back from nowhere. Like, I was like, oh, he left and went to, oh, right. That was a big part of his his whole history. They completely dropped his storyline. They completely dropped Rebecca's storyline with her like the little green matchbook and her like journey to be a mom. I mean, granted, she ended up with old dude, but like it just, yeah, I don't know.
Yo,
There
what
were a
they
lot
did
of
with
character
Sam-
flops
What they did with
for me.
Sam was unforgivable. That was the thing that made me that really made it difficult to give it the score that I gave, because Sam to me was a beloved character.
Yep.
And for them to just kind of like leave him hanging, we left the story hanging, we left the relationship with his father hanging, we left his future hanging, and then for him, like they put a prop in his locker room regarding the Nigerian national team to signify some type of big importance, and then they just added just another picture of him on the team with nothing, no filler in between to see how that went. You just dropped the
Like,
relationship.
why would he leave the team?
With him and Rebecca?
World Cup
Dropped
team.
the
so
relationship with
You
the
don't leave
philanthropy
Huh?
of his country.
You don't leave your team.
you
That
don't
was
leave
a World Cup team?
Africa.
Yeah,
It's a
when you
World
play
Cup.
for your
It
country,
was
it's
a
World
national
Cup.
team.
You don't leave your team.
You don't leave your
They,
team.
no, he left, but he left his team, I thought.
No,
No,
he was
Don't play-
the other guy, the billionaire Nigerian guy whispered in people's ears and kept him off of the national.
Oh, right. Oh, so you're saying the team with him and the Nigerians was like
World
the
Cup
Olympics?
national team.
yeah, that's like
That
playing
was
in
the
the
World
Olympics.
Cup team.
Yeah,
That
like
was
you
the
don't leave your
national team.
team. You just
Oh,
go.
so you're saying, oh, so it went back to that. It went back to that whole thing where everybody
way I
else
answered
went back to their countries and played for the. Okay, so I didn't realize that the World Cup was
Yeah.
basically the Olympics, and
Yeah.
that's my ignorance.
Big
I
lady
thought that the World Cup was certain teams that made it to the
That-
finals,
that
and
was-
then
They had time off when Danny and I guess
right,
Zorro
Van Dam.
played for their team.
yeah, yeah.
Zorro, whatever.
Zorro. And then
No,
I'm like, why did it take you so long to realize you should have been Zorro?
Oh, and I felt like they teased us too with him a little bit. Like I felt like when Isaac had to give up when he had to give up the captain patch because of him, and then they
Colin.
gave it to him. Yeah, like I was like, oh man, maybe he can step up and be the new leader for the team. We didn't explore any of it. It was just. I just felt like very disrespected with the character that I.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Well, the
They just dropped the ball on a lot.
The captain got red carded, so he just gives it the patch for that game. The number,
I mean that's how
Yeah.
it played out. But it felt like it felt like when Finn grabbed the lightsaber and they took all the pictures of him holding the lightsaber, and you're like, oh shit, he got the lightsaber. We about to get a black Jedi. They put the patch on his arm. I'm like, oh shit, they put the patch on his arm.
He was
We
still
about
the
to get a
captain, though, wasn't he? I thought he
No,
was
just for that, just for the rest of that game.
Yeah, just for that game, he wasn't the captain.
He was. Yeah,
he
Isaac
was.
gave up his captain patch
The second
because he
half.
got ejected.
got it.
Right, just for that game. That's what I was
Just for
saying.
that game. Just for that one game.
Second
Yeah.
half of that game.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I
Because he
think
was ejected at halftime.
that Sam got he got held off the Nigerian team, that World Cup team, and then the next games he was back onto the team.
And then I loved it because the team showed up to his restaurant. I thought that was dope when they violated the restaurant because they were Africans and the immigration. Then the whole team showed up and was cleaning up everything and picking up everything. I thought that was important to the story because it's about the unity that they were building, especially outside of Zaslav when they were losing. And I thought they needed moments like that. So
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of, because the thing is when you got so many characters to focus on, and really, even though Sam's a beloved character, Danny's a beloved character and stuff like that, really the focus of the show is Ted and the people closest around Ted.
Yeah, but they made Sam on par with Jamie Tart. Like they made him maybe not quite as high as Jamie, but he was definitely higher than like Colin. But Colin got talent. Not that I'm taking away from Colin. I thought his storyline was really sweet. I'm just saying, like Sam had, he was with Rebecca.
I thought they swapped Sam with Colin because season 2 was about Sam more so than Colin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, by a long shot.
Yeah, like Colin wasn't even an afterthought in season 2, so he got some show in this one. And I thought really the payoff for Sam was the episode where his father showed up.
Yes,
and even when the
precious spot.
the African guy showed up to let him know why
Yeah.
he a Nigerian team, and then they torpedoed his ass. And that's
And
how
Trent Krim.
he does.
and then we
Trent
do
Krim, the
see him on
independent.
the national team. So yeah,
But Trent Krim got that run too because because he had to be a I don't know, adversary, an accomplice to Colin. You know, someone, because he was the only one really on the
Yeah,
team.
mentor. Yeah, mentor is a good way to say it.
Yes. Got to be him.
Yeah, because he had the fact that he became like one of the Diamond Dogs. Like he really, became a series, I think he was a series regular this season. Like he wasn't just recurring. He was in every single episode. So he had a huge arc. Yeah, I just felt like, for me, it just really, I don't know, it just really bothered me that they just left Sam hanging. So
I didn't love
me that much. I thought Sam had a great story. He
I mean,
got
I think
closure with his father.
Yeah, if you look at it, there's a lot that you could complain about. Like, for one, just really where it was never explained why Danny turned into a maniac when they played the, when they
that was completely explainable.
completely explained.
That was completely explainable.
Right
This
there,
is like,
man.
I'm trying to win for my country.
Yeah.
I know you played sports in school. Okay, that's country pride. Like, what you doing? Like, that was 100% believable.
Kobe literally did almost the same thing to Paul Gasol, and they were teammates.
That's
Kobe
what I'm
I'm gonna knock his ass out. That's like, you ain't gonna knock your teammate out. Yeah.
Danny did not care, and I thought that was beautiful.
Perfect.
Because, like,
I'm
trying to
beautiful.
win. We're not friends. We can be friends when we're on this team.
Press those
I'm trying to break home the goal for my country. Boy, sit down. I don't know you.
And Randy, I think you
no,
hit it right on the
I
head.
get
I think they
it,
did.
but I just
pull
think
from
how
that.
Zorro was like they're scared of him all for the rest of the season when they supposed to be back to being friends. That
Well, yeah, and I mean, Danny tried to fix it. Like, I'm back and I'm cool now. It's like, nah, bitch, you ain't cool. There's something wrong with you.
broke my damn face.
Well, yeah, I think like I was saying, Randy, I think you hit the nail right on the head, because they pull a lot of this stuff from real life that's on TED. And a legendary adversary international game was when Kobe had to play against Pau Gasol.
Yeah,
and everybody said because Kobe and Pau were buddy chums, like they're best friends. They go to each other barbecue, like that's his homie and his road dog.
And he doesn't make friends easily.
And the young dogs, right? And the young dogs on that international team, because it was the USA Redemption team. Was like, Kobe, how you gonna do this to your homeboy? And he's like, nah, I'm gonna go at him hardest. I'm gonna go at him first.
First play of the game.
Wait, what is Paul Gasol? What country did he play for?
Spain.
Okay.
And Spain had won the gold medal the prior
year.
Yeah.
And Kobe tried to destroy him.
And Kobe, the statesman, told young LeBron and D Wade and them, I'm gonna run through him like he's not there. They're like, you full of shit.
I ain't gonna do that.
I'm gonna run through his chest.
Play of the game, Kobe
did.
First play of the game, ran right through his chest.
They was like, oh shit, it's
like he had to execute. It's like he had to execute the friendship on the court.
You ain't my
You know what I mean?
You ain't my friend.
No, this is competition. And listen, I will do the same. Listen, it's a game. No. I mean, listen, Ray has played spades with me. He has played cards with me. I am ruthless. I don't care who you are. I will take down my mama, and I have. And I love her. And she has taken me down. She has come for me. There is no blood in spades. And like, you know what I mean?
Of the Paul Gasol and Kobe relationship, because Paul Gasol said, I came on the court and I smiled at him and said, what's up, Kobe? He said, Kobe gave me like the evilest look. It's like the devil was in his eyes.
So when the Danny did it, I was like, yes, game on. Game on.
But y'all know he ain't my boy over here. Y'all my boy.
Not on this court. Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite scenes. I actually wish we would have got more of Danny. Well, y'all thought we didn't get a lot of whatchamacallit. I thought we didn't get enough of Danny. But who did we cut? Right?
Well, I thought we got just as much Danny as we usually get. Danny is just a nugget of goldness. Like every little quip he has. Like when he looked at that dog, when it came down to the penalty shot, and he didn't want to take it, and he gave it to Isaac like, nah, bro, it's your turn.
Yo, but that's that shot though.
Yeah.
That
shot was amazing. But that's why I wish we would have got more of him this season.
We could have gotten his backstory.
How about Danny? How about Danny Pimp Juice, who with the poly relationship?
Poly relationship at the very end.
He had one on each arm, right?
He sure did. He was so Danny.
And I had to say it. Coach Beard is my favorite character, guys. I love Coach Beard.
He came through at the end.
He just comes up with all this knowledge and stuff. And you're like, where's he coming from with this? And it's like every time he's on point. And then in episode 12, because I thought Rebecca and Ted slept together.
Oh,
and
that
then
was a great misdirection.
I
right?
know.
That was
I
a
I
did.
great
was so mad
misdirection.
when I realized they didn't.
Yeah, I was fine with it. But then Coach Beard come in with the red thong with his wife or his girl. Man, I was in tears.
When that episode came on, I stopped the episode and went back to the last
Hey,
episode.
did I miss something? Did I miss something?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was like
Yeah.
Evers all over again. But I
Yeah.
knew characters more. I knew these like what?
Yeah.
What?
That's what
But
I said.
I thought
he
I
stopped
thought
it,
we
and
were going
knew
back
he
to
was
the
gonna
green
tell her.
matchbook.
Me too. Me too. I thought,
I thought we were going back to the green matchbook.
Is she pregnant by Ted?
Mm. Well, she got the results so that she couldn't do that.
Yeah, but I thought
But I thought that they were going to, that's why he was going to stay
Okay.
and bring
If you
little
go
Henry
back
there.
to that episode, the lady never told her she was going to be pregnant.
Yeah, she told she have a daughter.
She told her she was going to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw that coming though, right?
Have a daughter.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, what's up? The minute I met that
The
dude.
Amsterdam dude. We knew
Yeah.
it was coming back around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When it came, I was like, that's not really a
I
surprise.
talk about my favorite scene was
Right.
when Rebecca and Ted was sitting in the stadium and Rebecca said, I'm willing to talk about it right now. And she sat down next to him and was like, if you go, I'm selling the team. There is no team without you. And there should be no team without me. If
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah. And she
And-
said, I'll make you a very rich man.
Very rich man.
Your son can come over here and go to the best schools. Hell, your wife
apartment head.
can
Come
come
on.
over here.
Yo, I wanted to blow up Michelle's little boyfriend when he was sitting there like hating on the game.
Oh man, it's so American. It was
It was
so American.
so awful.
Nah, it's
Like,
so
you have-
red flag. Like she needs to get
It
away.
is like you have to support. That's y'all have to be family. And that was
Well, he
ridiculous.
doesn't have to be there. He didn't have to watch the game.
Yeah, he could have left.
He coulda
couldn't-
left.
Yeah.
And the fact he
on
stood
top of the
there.
fact- on top of the fact that it's all types of red flags, that he was the counselor. He was the marriage
Yes.
counselor.
He was
Yeah.
the marriage
My
counselor.
secrets, and you gonna use that to get my girl? Oh, it's
Yeah.
Yeah. That was dirty. That was malpractice.
Yeah,
I would have
man.
sued his ass. I
I'm
straight
like,
would have sued him. I'd have taken all his money and his license.
Yeah, it was a lot of red flags for old dude. But I got the feeling like his wife, I still don't actually understand why they're not together.
She just fell out of love with him.
All love.
He
Like,
he
but
wasn't
literally didn't do
exciting.
anything wrong.
He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong.
See, that's
She
a red
just-
flag.
It's like he wasn't like
Follow-
exciting enough or whatever. She wanted more from a man. It wasn't Ted. And she just left.
So she
You
do.
gonna date our
It's
counselor?
uncommunicated.
Yeah, you
Are you
date
gonna
our
bang the
bitch
counselor?
You gonna bang our
That was
counselor?
just so, and that was disrespectful to her character.
Both of them.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying.
Like, I'm like, you put her. If I would have been that actress, I'd have been like, yo, you gonna put me with the marriage counselor?
That was
That's
great.
That is faulty. I ain't doing that. You gonna find somebody else.
Marriage counselor pushed it towards the end because he had a crush on her in the first place.
Yeah.
I feel like he should get his license revoked for that.
He
feel like-
should, but Ted would have to report him,
Yeah.
and then that would end his like relationship with Michelle and mess it up for their son. I felt him on that whole episode when he realized that was the
Oh
counselor.
yeah. It's a lot of dudes who would have made a trip. We speaking of basketball
I'd have
players.
got on that next
Matt
plane.
Barnes made a trip.
And police would have met me there
not Matt
to
Barnes.
keep me from
Oh,
killing him.
Here's the problem. You know why Ted didn't get on that plane?
Was that?
Trip right then, because Beard would have went with him.
Oh yeah,
Beard
that's
would have
true.
came with the shovel.
Beard would have
and the
handled
lie.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beard would have
Beard-
handled it.
Beard's backstory, aka Willis. is
Yeah.
back.
Willis.
Yeah.
I love that we got his name. You know, I never needed his name. I never needed his name. I didn't know. I didn't realize I didn't know his name until Ted called
Right.
him Willis.
Right. He's my favorite character, man. I love it. All right, so real quick. I thought it wrapped up very succinctly. Do we want a season 4 of Ted Lasso? We'll start with you, Centel.
Hell no. I feel like that's what's gonna happen. That's how I feel like about some of these holes that we have with some of the characters and the character development. It feels like they might be setting up for a spinoff, and then it gives us a little bit something to kind of grab on to get our hooks into to get us moving on to the next thing. I think that they were smart and realized we have enough of good content to do 3 seasons, no more. and then just leave us content. Doing anything else, nah. I mean, but if I had to, because this is the question that's been going on socials, it's like, if you had to have a spinoff, who would you want it on? And I would have wanted on Coach Beard if I had to have one, but I don't want one. It'd just be dumb.
What about you, Rikai? We want a season 4?
No. As much as I didn't want this to end, I think it ended perfectly. And I think, for whatever small plot holes and things like that, there are very few TV shows that reach this type of perfection. Avatar, The Last Airbender, Schitt's Creek, when we were talking about Extraordinary Attorney Woo, Ted Lasso, God Friended Me. There's few TV shows that have this type, The Wire, few that reach this pinnacle of, you don't want to give too much and fuck it up. No, let it go. And I do agree that if they were to do a spinoff, Coach Beard would be hella interesting because he's still coaching, he's still assistant coach to Roy, but I don't know if that would be compelling enough. And I don't know who else we could follow. No.
The women's team, super.
I think if Coach Beard coached the women's team.
I think what it would be interesting too is if we followed another character that had a heart like that. Like if they made a show with Sam or made a show with Danny or something like that. I don't know if they could carry a show, but I think they would be probably the most interesting choices. I don't really see anybody else. Yeah, I would love to see what happens with a women's team. So like how other IPs have something else go on in the same universe. So, that way we get to see Danny and Sam and some of the characters, Beard and them show up every now and again, but you probably get a lot of Keely and Rebecca or whatever. That might be interesting if you had a strong female lead, but I don't know. I think it's good where it's at.
What about you, Courtney? We did season 4.
There's something really awesome about a series creator who sets a deadline for himself and keeps it. Vince Gilligan did that with Breaking Bad. He said 5 seasons, no more. This is exactly what I want. And they kept paying him, throwing him money. Like he said 5 seasons, and that is my complete story. And Jason Sudeikis said from the very beginning that this is 3 seasons. And I think that he hit all the marks he wanted to hit. Like even like in the original, like the sketches that he did for like, NBC Sports or whatever, was him sitting, answering questions at a press conference. And then he closed out this season with the scene of him, which was taken straight from those commercials where he was doing the Roger Rabbit. You know what I mean? Like that was
Running
one
Man,
of the Running Man, where he was doing like the iconic like dance, like he was doing this little thing in the middle of all the players, and that he brought it back. You know what I mean? I feel like even though I wasn't necessarily satisfied with the story that I got, he told the story that he wanted to tell. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think I need a 4th season. I do think that if we do have a 4th season, then I would love to see him playing, coaching somewhere in the US, but at the same time, it's just not going to have that same magic. You need the same host of characters. And it's just not, I don't think that's what I want. The women's team, I guess if you found somebody else, like there was this big whole thing. People were saying that they didn't like the actress that was cast as Ted's mom. And I was like, yeah, man, Reba McEntire would have killed it. That's his mother. You know what I'm saying? Like she would have been awesome, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. I think I'm good.
All right. What about you, Chuck, man? You want a season 4?
Nope. I don't want a Lasso universe. I want none of that shit.
Want it to end?
Let it go off as is. You know what I'm saying? I don't want none of it. Let it end it just the way I wanted it to end. I shed enough tears. I smiled. I laughed. I cried. I did it. I had all the emotions, and I hadn't had a show that this much heart, a live action show with this much heart in a long time that actually told a really good story.
I didn't shed one tear. I was sad that I didn't shed, that I didn't cry.
I did when Rebecca was like, "Look, I could pay you a lot more money than you could ever get paid, and it's still not enough."
I shed a couple. All right,
And I believed her. And I believed her.
She told him, she said, now this is the part where you say, I'll sleep on it, I'll think about it. And he just looked at her and never answered. And she's like,
Never answered.
I already know the
That
answer.
was a perfect scene where he
That
didn't
is-
say anything.
She said, "You already know your answer, right?" And he just looked at her. He didn't even look at her. He just kept looking straight.
I thought the wrap up too, like seeing Coach Beard, we're getting married, and like,
But that was upsetting that Ted wasn't there. I didn't believe that Ted wouldn't be at Coach Beard's wedding.
Either. I
There's
thought,
no way.
yeah, there's no way. There's no
I
way.
didn't even
Absolutely
peep
no
that.
way.
Wow,
Got married at Stone Chin, but,
Huh.
Yeah.
but the fact that when he did get off the plane, she's like, you want to hospital with your friend? He's like, nah, he's good. She's like, what an
the
asshole.
fact
I know.
he threw a tantrum on the plane had me cry. He was like, I got it. I was like,
He said,
oh,
"My
Lord."
appendix." My appendix, he said, other side. Other
Right.
side.
I was like, Lord, what is Beard about to do?
But he was keeping his feet in the air, though.
All right. So Courtney, how you gonna re-rate it, man?
I mean, I can go up to a full meal. It has too many holes for me to give it a binge worthy. It wasn't for me.
Going up to a 4 mil. Centel, how you gonna re-rate it?
I'm gonna come back down. Actually, I'm gonna come back down to a full meal.
Okay.
I felt like it felt like Star Wars. You know, the first one was amazing. The second one, Empire, is flawless, and Jedi's very good. Jedi's very good, but it wasn't the first two. And The Wire, which is like arguably for me the greatest series of all time. That last season of The Wire, I mean, it was just okay. You know, it was just okay. But the work prior to that makes it the greatest of all time. And that's how I feel about Ted Lasso. It's the overall work is far too good for the few shortcomings of the last season, but it's not perfect. So yeah, full meal.
Okay. I'm gonna stick in mine with a full binge out. Rakai, how you gonna rate it?
Same. I'm gonna stick with a full binge out. I think I do echo Centel's sentiments absolutely. And I think that even for plot holes and some of the weaker episodes in this season, it started off really good, but the way that they stuck the landing, those last 2 episodes damn near make up for the rest of the season. So
Okay. Chuck, what about you, sir? How you gonna re-rate it?
I didn't care about the plot holes y'all talking about. The show was fucking amazing.
I thought so
What the hell y'all talking about out here? I don't know the plot holes. What? We got 10 episodes of goodness.
well,
This is why we don't deserve good things. We don't deserve
He got mad when he said this word.
binge out.
I mean, because the first
No,
2 seasons
James.
were perfect. The first 2
Perfect.
seasons were perfect.
Hey.
That I think that's why I was just so like my heart hurt that it wasn't that I didn't get the same level of magicness.
I hear
You
you.
know?
I hear you. Holly Berry was perfect at 27 years old too.
After her nose job
As
or
she
before?
aged, she still look good.
facts.
All right, that gives us a 4.6, so that can still round us out. That'll round us up to a 4 binge out for Ted Lasso season 3.
I shed too many tears not to give this show anything less than
I love it. Yeah, I
I
love
gave
it.
my
I
heart.
mean, listen, if I had shed a tear, it would have got a binge out. I just didn't. I guess I don't know. I just didn't.
Oh no, my eyes sweated in several different episodes. So no.
Yeah, it was a couple. Yeah. Rakai, you got anything to say before we head out, sir?
No, I thought this was I thought this was a great, and I like back to back that we went and talked about 2 fantastic shows back to back. Give binge outs 2 weeks in a row. So what
What was the last show? Did we give a binge out?
No, we didn't give a binge out to.
We absolutely
Mrs.
did not. It was
Davis.
Mrs. Davis.
Miss Davis.
Oh,
What
was
you
that the
talking
last
about?
show?
He's about to turn.
That was last week.
You just forgot. You just blocked it out.
I did. I forgot
Algorithm made him block it out. The algorithm made him block it out, y'all.
I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, that is Elon Musk's girlfriend. I don't even remember that shit. We talked about that show. I've deleted it from memory. The last show we did to me was Extraordinary Attorney Woo. I don't remember that.
That was the week before. That was the week. Yeah.
That's the only week that matters then.
Is real, boy.
This Courtney Scott Wright, you guys did to say before we head out, Mel?
Football is life. I needed Danny Rojas to say that one more time, and he didn't.
Chuck, got anything to say before we head out, sir?
No, yeah, I do actually. Warner Brothers Productions, y'all suck. Y'all suck at everything. Y'all took the channel from HBO Max and call it Max now. You take off good shows, and you didn't even put this show on your network. You gave it to Apple. Y'all suck.
Damn.
Oh, did they? Did they pass on this show?
It's a Warner Brothers show. Yeah, they passed on it. Yeah, they passed on it. It could have been on HBO or Max.
HBO. They passed on it.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't have had to have gotten another subscription, because the only reason I got Apple TV was because of Ted Lasso. I got it free. I mean, I'm gonna keep it now because it's good shows, but I got it free because I got an iPhone, right? And I was just like, when this shit ends, I'm just gonna let it elapse because I didn't care. And then I watched Mythic Quest and Ted Lasso. I was like, fuck, I gotta add another subscription.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Mythic Quest is gone now. Well, Mythic Quest and now Ted Lasso. So
Yeah,
what's
so
up?
right.
Silo? I haven't started that
They
yet.
got good shows now, so I'm just talking about back then. I was like, oh,
Mythic Quest was coming back.
I don't know.
God, I hope not.
They dropped their last season, and I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was
Only reason I went back is because of this show.
Dropped the ball like that.
Chantel, bro, you got anything to say before we head out?
Yeah, free Dr. Sharon. How you gonna introduce her to me in the very first episode, and I don't see her again until the very end? I like Dr. Sharon.
Dr. Sharon.
Sorry.
Maybe she had a job. I feel like she must have had a job, and that's why she couldn't come back except for those little cameos.
I'm sure that boyfriend.
She was doing that African series. I forgot the name of it. That's on Amazon. I actually watched it.
Mhm.
Well, anyways, that's a whole other thing. Yeah, free Dr. Sharon. That's it. I'm good.
Shouts out to Rodney, our technical director. Shouts out to Digital Click for providing all our marketing needs. Shouts out to Mark in the chat who joined us. He's on mute today, but he's gonna come back in next week. The Geekish Network. We are a network for people of color, man. We got the dopest people in front of the camera, behind the camera, and all around. So please support us. Like this episode, share us with your friends. You can find us on YouTube. We've got the podcast. We're on social media. So support us because we want to keep creating dynamic and great content for people that look like you. Thanks a lot. So next week we are doing American-born Chinese.
Y'all are?
Yeah, we're doing American.
Y'all seen it yet? Y'all watched everything yet?
I'm 3 episodes in.
Oh, I haven't started yet. Okay. All right. I'm excited about that one. I'm super excited about that one.
You know,
Well, I'll be watching y'all without a doubt. Okay.
all right. And so we'll holler at y'all next week. Same geek time, same geek channel. Peace.
What is it? Geek out and good night.
Y'all good.